The Jews, whom Paul is trying to convince, have fallen for an error that's common among people in our day. You know, worldly minded people, many times in our culture, they'll say, well, I'm a realist. I only believe in things that I can see and feel. What's right here? What's solid? What's material? I only believe in that. All this supernatural stuff just sounds pretty shadowy to me, all spooky and ghostly and everything. No, I believe in the real world, not this fantasy world. But I would submit that if this world is real, then that world is super real. It is more real. The spiritual is more real than the physical. And I'll demonstrate that for you. Have you ever seen some rough-looking guy and you thought to yourself, man, he looks like a really bad dude. I would hate to run into him on a dark night in an abandoned alley. This has happened to you before, hasn't it? John tells about how one day he was at a counter at a convenience store. He paid for something. He left. And the man on the other side of the counter was a friend of John's and knew him. And after John left, somebody else came along and was watching John leave. And then he turned to the guy behind the counter. He said, man, he's a mean-looking one, isn't he? But you know, like John, you get to know him and you find out he's just a teddy bear. Have you ever known somebody that looked really rough, but the truth was, no, he was a nice guy. He was a really good guy. So what was more real, the physical or the spiritual? Have you ever seen some pretty face and thought to yourself, well, now she looks like a real angel. I bet she's a real sweetheart. And then you got to know her. And she was spiteful and vindictive and petty and mean-spirited and vengeful. And you said, good grief, get me away from her. What's more real, the spiritual or the physical? The spiritual is more real than the physical. Not only is the spiritual more real than the physical, but many times the unseen is more real than what's seen. For example, imagine somebody who's taking aspirin for a headache, when the whole time his real problem is a brain tumor. Many times what's not seen is more real than what's seen. And the Bible teaches that there is an unseen reality that affects things that happen in this world. And we're going through the Revelation on Sunday nights. As we go through, we'll see that a seal is broken in heaven and an army marches over the earth below. A trumpet sounds in heaven and a plague ravages the world below. A vial is poured out in heaven and diseases or famines destroy the people in the world below. And there's this unseen war going on all around us. We never see it, we never hear it, but it's constantly going on all around us. But we do see like the ripples sent into this world from that unseen war. We read headlines in this world that are the results of things set in motion from an unseen world. And the unseen is more real than what we see down here below. C.S. Lewis called the world in which we live the Shadowlands. Because what's happening in that unseen world is what's causing the events that take place in our world, not the other way around. Except when saints fall on their knees. And then it goes the other way around. When you and I in this world pray, we send ripples back into that unseen ether that shakes kingdoms.